Welcome to the Beacon Way podcast, hosted by award-winning executive team of Beacon Media and Marketing. With over 3 decades of experience, Adrian, Jennifer, and Ken give you an insider's view of what's working, what's not, and what's on the horizon for digital marketing. Grow your business today with the Beacon Way podcast.
Hey, welcome back to the Beacon Way podcast. I am very honored to have Sean and Angie Taylor on today. We're going to talk about all things niche marketing, business entrepreneurship, being kingdom-minded, and then a little bit about their founder's journey. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time.
We are happy to be here.
We sure are. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
And so just starting out, I'd love to know just how you guys decided. Were you guys always entrepreneurial minded, always thinking about that? Like, where did that come from?
No,
that's
not
just
at all. Let's see. My degree is in marriage and family therapy. Went there because I felt like God was saying, Sean, all life is about relationships, and you need to know how to impact relationships.
Right.
And I for some reason, really focused on the couple, and because I wanted to figure out how to be married well. And I figured if I can impact that relationship, I can impact generations after that. Yeah. And I was jazzed about that. And then I met Angie in grad school. She was studying Masters of Divinity and then switched to Masters of Theology. And then, so we hit it off, ended up getting married. Also, while I was in grad school, had the vision of Cornerstone come upon my heart. I thought it was going to be up in Seattle. That's where Angie and I needed to learn how to be married, up in Seattle. So we learned that it was really difficult. She's not used to the gray of Seattle. You know about the gray of Alaska.
I do.
Yeah, she's from Arizona. And it didn't work for us to even build Cornerstone up in Seattle. And again, we need to learn how to be married. And so after a hiatus in Arizona, we landed in Colorado, and where it has the sunshine that Angie needs, it has the mountains I crave, and it has the population that could benefit from Cornerstone.
Yeah.
Really, with that calling, we had to just figure it out. So God gave me the calling, but he didn't give me all the talents that were needed for the, so I just started
to that. Yeah.
So I started seeing some clients while working a full-time job, and sure enough, I could not do the admin side. I wasn't following up with clients. Angie saw this, and she's got the gift of administration and just getting stuff done. And so it wasn't but a couple months into it, and we're doing it together. She's doing the business side, the admin side of things. I'm doing the clinical side. We start hiring people on and just figuring it out and reading a ton of books and having a lot of discussion, making mistakes and learning from the mistakes, trying to fail forward and praying a lot along the way. And so we became entrepreneurial, but we weren't entrepreneurial to start.
That's for sure.
I love that. Yeah, so it was almost the calling first, and then laying the path of learning on how to really walk that out.
Yes, we heard the phrase, God equips the called.
Yeah.
He doesn't just call the equipped, he equips the called. And that we held on to that.
Yeah.
And we believe and we saw God to be true, that he really did equip us when we humbled ourselves and sought out wisdom, sought out his guidance, talked to a lot of people, asked them for their input, and again, read a lot of books.
Yeah. So did you have other people, like was Cornerstone the first Christian counseling in the area where you guys are?
I don't think it was the first.
I don't know if it was overtly the first, but I will say we started Cornerstone in 2009 here in Denver. And what I do remember vividly is, for those of you who aren't in the mental health field, like rewinding the tape back to about that time frame, mental health was majorly stigmatized still at that point, and nobody talked about it,
especially by the church.
But most people didn't talk about it. Certainly didn't talk about it in the church. At that point in time, it was again me and Sean, so I was answering all the phone calls, and the amount of like embarrassment and shame that people shared about calling, and I'm so embarrassed I have to call, but my marriage is suffering, or this, that, and the other. And it was like, what is this? Is so crazy. And so we, how do we continue to destigmatize this for people? Like, we're all human, and we all have these stories, and we all have these broken pieces of us and broken places in our relationships that can benefit from talking to someone. So how do we get the word out? So we did Google it, and there weren't very many Christian counseling practices in the Denver area. And so we spent a whopping $500 for our very first website. It was a huge sacrifice for us at the time. We were scraping by, and we thought, if we can have a website that people can find us, and they can get to know a little bit about us kind of from the comfort of their home behind a computer screen. They don't have to be embarrassed about anything, and we can just be really approachable about who we are and try to normalize like the fact that, hey, we're all human and we've all got stuff.
Right.
Then maybe people will call. And people did. Right. And so, at the time, there weren't very many websites about counseling practices in general. Right. And I think there were even fewer that were overtly faith-based. And we get the question a little less these days, but man, for probably the first 5 or 6 years, people would ask us all the time, like, how do you do what you do? Like, how can you be so overt with this? You're not supposed to be so overt, like in this field, like you're supposed to be neutral. And that
was from like the mental health community. Mental health community would say you cannot put faith in your name, nor can you be overt about it. And the church community would say, what are you doing with all this psychology stuff?
I was going to say, I bet you guys completely got it from both sides, right?
Oh, we totally got it from both sides. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
as somebody, so I don't know if I even mentioned this, but I was on my way to become a Christian counselor. I was in year 3. Actually, that was my background. And as I got through that, to that point, I realized the reason I was drawn to it is because it was stuff that I needed in my own healing. And so as I walked through that, I'm like, okay, I'm probably not really ready yet to counsel other people. I probably need to like deep dive into the healing and everything that I need. So I'm really glad I went that direction, but it had such a profound impact on my life. And it was, so that was back in 2013, 2014. And like, it was still stigmatized. It was still like, I remember even just going to the office, it was just like that part of it of, do I want people to see me walking in here or any of that? I was fairly new Christian at that point, and definitely I could feel that from both sides of the aisle. It was like, I didn't really know many people in the mental health community too much, but I knew that Christians were seen differently. And I did know like the stuff I was getting or hearing from other believers was that if I was really a good believer, I wouldn't need that. Yeah. So do you feel like that has shifted then over the years, like of a more understanding of healing of where we are today? And do you guys see more in practice?
Sure. I even hear it now in sermons more often, where people are referencing neurobiology. They're referencing the way that God created us, not just spiritually, but physiologically and neurobiologically. Yeah. And references that are illuminating for a lot of people, and it helps people know that it isn't just I'm a bad person or God screwed up or something like that. Or when people just get over, well, maybe actually there's neurobiological factors at play. And maybe actually we need to go through a process that actually heals the brain, especially if we've been through challenging experiences, traumas, and relational challenges. Relational traumas affect us deeply as kids, as adults, and they impact the way that we engage the world and how we even perceive ourselves. And if that needs to be taken into, or when it is taken into account, when a counselor or a therapist is skilled at understanding the way that we as humans function, not just from a biblical point of view, I think that's the foundation, but seeing us also through the best that research has given us. Right. Research in the sciences has given us great insight into the way that we have been created, the way our brains function, the way our hormones fluctuate. And once we actually bring that in, and also research has shown us different interventions that help facilitate the change process as well. And so we incorporate all of that as Christian counselors upon the foundation of who we are in Christ and what he has done for us and the wonderful gift of salvation through his sacrifice. That is wonderful. And that is the foundation of what we do. And I think that message, that good news message, changes lives. And it's the foundation upon which we stand. And so much then can be built upon it. I mean, he's called the solid rock upon which we stand, and we can build that upon it. And like even the parable of like that parable actually that is referenced there is about a house that's built upon the solid rock. We're supposed to build upon this, not just rest and lay down on the solid rock, but we could build some really good things upon this. And I think that that's what going to an expert allows us to do. And if they understand the salvation of Christ, then they are standing on this that solid foundation, and we can build something even better together.
I love that. It's a great way to put it. I love the brain. I love learning about that. I love psychology. It actually pays into what I do every single day, just like how people function. And what I've noticed is the more that I grow and even know myself and understand myself better, get more healing, become more aligned with who I'm supposed to be, it actually makes me better at my work, better relationally, better owner, all of those things. So to me, it's like all part of the process, which is exciting.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting how in a lot of areas it became more acceptable. But so for example, like if you want to invest your money, it used to not be acceptable to talk with an investment broker. Right. But over the years, it became more acceptable. And now we have faith-based investment brokers. We have whole companies that actually love Jesus and want to help people to be wise with their money and even make a lot, and so they can give away a lot. And that's wonderful. And so you find an expert that helps you with money, or you go to a doctor. You don't want a doctor just to say, okay, well, let's just pray away the cancer or whatever it is. No, if you have something wrong in your body, you want to go to an expert. And shoot, if you're working with a doctor though that knows the power of healing prayer, that'd be amazing, And there's something with incorporating Jesus, or not just incorporating him, but having him be the foundation, but having expertise laid up that is such a wonderful complement. And I think that's the way that God designed it, to invest the talents that he's given us and build upon that in order to be better at serving other people.
I love that. As you guys were in the journey in the beginning, so how long were you guys, would you say, in that first phase of that survival, scrappy, like it's just the two of you, you're building this business, what are we doing, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we've left.
Yeah. We still ask that question today.
Exactly.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Back
before you guys move on, like that is a real thing. And I think there's huge lies out there about entrepreneurship that you feel like you'll have arrived one day, or you feel like that is just a lie. And we make it all look like, or we don't, but people make it look like it's just ultimate freedom, and there is freedom to it, but there's massive responsibility.
Oh yeah.
And
there is.
Yeah. Every level that you go up, there's massive responsibility. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I hate that particular lie because I see it hurt. I see it actually ground people before they even get their business off the ground. They decide that there's something very wrong with them because everything they've been told is that it would be a certain way. And then they're a year or two in or 5 years in and they're still struggling. And honestly, that's normal.
It is.
It's so normal. There isn't a single day that goes by that Sean and I don't have doubts about decisions we're making or, the next steps that we need to take. And so, to your point, I don't think you ever arrive. It's just, you kind of maybe arrive at a level that you thought was going to be the be all end all. And then you realize actually that was kind of like a halfway mark.
Or it's another step. And who knows how big the staircase is.
Yeah.
But I will say at the beginning, the parable of the talents actually was so powerful, I think, for us. And the thing that stood to us was, if you are faithful with little, God will put you in charge of more.
Right.
And so don't think about the little thing that you have before you as just a small little thing. Be faithful with that little thing, thinking it is the big thing. And be faithful with that. And we started off asking to use space in churches around our communities. And pastors were generous with that space until we started seeing more people in the space than they were seeing. And they were like, you need to rent your own space.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, but again, being faithful with just those little things, calling people back and even if we can't provide them the services because we don't offer that service, going the second mile and offering them referrals to other places, being faithful with every person that calls in. And did a wonderful job with that. And then we started having to hire people on to answer the phones as well and help her out. And those people learned how much Angie cared for everybody that was calling in.
Yeah.
The people that I started to supervise, I think they learned, I care about these people and I want them to be provided with the best care, a loving person who could be not just a representative for Jesus, like we're called to be his hands and feet, but someone who is equipped with, they're excellent clinicians. And so having both that biblical foundation and clinical expertise, that's just a mantra I have. And every single person who comes through our doors should be getting that. And if that I guess the perspective from the very beginning, and it still is the perspective now. During those first years, we're working out of our spare bedroom. That's like Cornerstone headquarters, and we still have a home office, even though we have, I think, 7 locations now, and we have like over 60 therapists. We still feel small. And scrappy
sometimes.
Exactly. And we have more zeros in our budget, and which is one, in some from one perspective, man, that's a wonderful thing. In another perspective, it's just a bigger burden, and it's just more zeros. And but it's the same approach. We have to be faithful with all the money that we get, or that passes through us, all the clients that come through our doors. Same perspective, the different problems, and maybe the problems are different levels of impact as well.
I don't know if this will make it into the podcast, but I just feel compelled to share this. And Angie, with your background in theology, the one thing that this last year, Parable of the Talents is literally like what the foundation of Beacon is made on, by the way. That is the one, at least for me, that was like the driving force. But one thing that he showed me this last year was he gave me like this 10-10-10 thing. And it was 10% tithing, 10% investing in yourself or investing in team. And then 10%, this is something I hadn't really thought about before, but it was that story of Ruth. And it was about leaving the areas of the field for others to glean, right?
Yeah.
That's like the part. And so we actually started a whole referral system because we get about 100 calls a month and we can only take on 5. So we have a lot that like we're just like, sorry, we can't help you. And they go somewhere else. And we're like, that's not great. Right? Like they've just wasted their time. That's not great. And so we started this whole referral system where we're now referring to other people. And so that's the extra 10%. And I noticed the referrals now coming to us have quadrupled.
Oh, wow.
It's like, and it was like happened very quickly. So I don't know if that was just him like showing me, I didn't do it for that reason, but it was still, it just was like so I'm just wondering, theologically, have you ever thought about that parable with that story in that way of that gleaning part?
That's an interesting way to look at it.
Yours was more the second mile.
Well, yeah, I think just broader, just general principles, right? I think is that when we consider others as more important than ourselves and we put others before ourselves and going the second mile and that kind of, right? And recognizing we can look at all of these things with an abundance or a scarcity mind, right? And so if we're looking at things through this scarcity mindset of I need more and give me, and I need to take and I need to hold on to this and I need to white knuckle that, I don't like God has cattle on 1,000 hills.
One of my favorite things. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And the referrals that come in all come from him and he can dry them up or he can multiply them by 8. And
there's more than enough hurt to go around for all of us that are in the helping profession.
Just this idea, like, I really do feel like if we can not look at it all the time, I feel we live in a culture of fear where we are out for ourselves anymore and we're out for number one and we're out to protect. And those of us who can actually open up our hearts a little bit and have more of an abundance mindset, and I actually see you and I care about you and I want to help you, because I just want to help you. I don't need anything out of it. I don't want anything out of it. I just literally just want to help you. I feel like God sees that and then rewards that, right? Because he's like, this isn't about me. This is about me actually trying to care for one of his kids, whether or not those kids know they're his kids or not, right? Like, this is just how I express the love that I have received from my father to others. But your idea too, and this idea, how that gleaning and sharing.
I just share me the same thing, because to me, that's like everything you just described is in line with that. And it's all kingdom mindset. It's all, the more that we do that, my husband has a tour business and like in some ways I envy him because it's all he does all day is get praise, right? Oh my God, I saw Alaska, saw the most beautiful things, and you're the most amazing human. And it's just, yeah, I like read his reviews. You need my,
Right?
you need my life. Marketing is a whole different deal. But anyway, but it's that people constantly are just like, this is not normal. Like people have just even asked him, like, are you a Christian? Or like, just there's something different. And like, to me, if you can do that in the marketplace where you can really showcase that, and it's not like you're already on my tour, like it's not for any gain or anything like that. It's just, I'm going to go above and beyond and make sure you have an amazing experience. Like that stands out to people. So, yeah, I love that.
And I also think that you brought up the scrappiness of the startup. I will say that abundance mindset was hard to have when we were smaller.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I remember we had a couple of clinicians that left during those first years. And it was hard not to take it personally, and also be scared that this could tank us as well, because they left with all their clients. And it felt, it felt like a personal slight against them. And we were holding on to tell you the truth. I was, at least, I know that. And so we had to pray through that. It was like a fleshly reaction, to use that biblical terminology. It was a self-centered reaction, and it was self-preservation. And so we had to say, okay, we need to recognize that, and again, trust that this is God's business.
Yeah.
We take care of God's business, he'll take care of, that's it. Take care of his business, he'll take care of us. And wish them well. If they feel compelled to go, wish them well and pray for them, and that God would use them as well, because again, we just had to be reminded there's enough that needs to be helped, and we're just one of his helpers. But that can be hard, especially when you first start.
So when Adrian and I came together, so both of us received words that we were supposed to do this business, and she had my view is like to have a very small business, like just an Alaska-based business, and her view is to have an international business. But God basically told me, like, this is the person, this is the one you're supposed, and then he gave us both a vision together. And in the first year, we had everything stolen. So like everything stolen out of our office. We had an employee relapse and steal. And then we had our 3 top employees all got recruited by a competitor. And then the competitor actually went in and took our website and redirected it to theirs.
Oh my gosh.
We fixed it pretty quick, but and I almost died of mercury poisoning. That happened about 6 months in. It was insane.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like so Jobish or something. I don't know how to explain it, because it was like literally as soon as he like clearly gave us both the vision and we said yes, then within right away, stuff just started like hitting really hard. And I guess we just kept coming back together and saying, okay, but like God said, and so we should just keep, what are we get? Like, we could just leave. Of course we could just end it, but that was that we just held on. So I don't know that we were really great about forgiving right away. It took some time.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, like it took a little, I do remember a specific moment though. I remember that we kept talking about that competitor and what they had done. And like, it was just general conversation. And I remember one day waking up and going, we're never talking negatively about that again. Like, we just have to stop doing that. We have to stop focusing on that. That's not the story. That, even though you're upset, but I'm just so grateful to have something bigger to focus on, because we all have trials. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
And there's a freedom in that, of letting that go. I remember seeing the counselors actually at a church that we went to. I forget why we were going to that church, but I saw her and she saw me, and we just gave each other a hug and said, it's so good to see you. And it was genuine by that point.
That's the best. That's the best.
That was hard fought for in some ways, because there was tension, and we had to work through that stuff and say, forgive me for, as we're praying, forgive me for my lack of forgiveness, and help me to live that out. That's what you're calling me to do, but I need some help. It's hard to do.
It is not easy. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So how long are you guys in now? How many years?
This is going to be 16 years this summer, I think.
Congratulations. That is a huge deal. That really is.
It's crazy to think that here we are. I measure when I look at our son, because when we moved here to Denver and started Cornerstone, he was like 14 months old, and now he's the one that's getting ready to go to college next year. And so we have a teenager business. But like our business like are the age of our son, and so we're teenagers now.
You're like, I bet there's a part of you going, so are we like almost ready to launch? Are we almost
right? Like we're in this awkward growth stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was part of that. Yeah. That's really great. I love your guys' story. And I guess lastly, my husband and I have worked together on and off. How do you guys manage the marriage and business part together? I'm sure you get asked that a lot.
Oh yeah.
But good things you've overcome in that piece of it.
Oh man, it's been a hard journey, I will say. Because kind of going back to that whole scrappy startup phase, when you're trying to figure it out and wondering if you're going to survive. I mean, it feels like literally everything is on fire all the time. And especially in the beginning when he was working an additional full-time job, I didn't get a chance to talk to him about business questions until he'd come home at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So we're having intense business discussions at 9:30, 10 o'clock in the evening. We're both exhausted. And so for a lot of years, we didn't have very good boundaries between when does work stop and when does our marriage and our life actually begin, and how do we separate the two? Yeah. So there were a lot of arguments about that over the years, but we've gotten a lot better about it now, and that we treat each other like we treat our other employees. And it's like, we have a meeting. We set meetings on the calendar and set time aside every week, sometimes multiple times throughout the week. And then we just keep agendas, in our laptops or our calendars or wherever. So when we get together, we can just hit the list. And then for me, I'm a list person and I love to cross things off my list, and I need to have answers. And if I don't know when I'm going to have a chance to have that conversation, then I will throw it in when we're brushing our teeth at 11 o'clock, and he'll be like, seriously, I'm brushing my teeth. I want to go to bed. So no, we've got these particular times on the calendar, and ways we keep track of the topics to discuss really has alleviated a lot of that tension we did feel early on. There's no unblur of these lives. So we do a much better job now. Yeah.
Yes.
So that is, you add to that?
Just that we have to re-up on it.
We do have to re-up on it every once in a while.
I think that's a huge challenge. So I do help my husband, the marketing part of his business on the side. And even just that is things cross over. Like I did have to actually say, okay, I can't talk about this stuff after this time of night. Yeah. Okay. Because I have to turn off at some point from that, or I don't function well. I know myself. So I have to have that. But that's actually just because I've had years of practice with Beacon. So like just knowing you have to have those. But I think that's a huge challenge. I think it's a worthy challenge to work through though, because I do think the concept of being able to work with family it's a beautiful thing. It is. But I get it. I do get that part.
Yeah, it is. And you have to reassess everyone. I mean, we go out on a weekly date morning, Fridays, or a date morning. And during that time, it's oftentimes checking in, how are we doing personal? But oftentimes conversations will go into business, and we've had to say, no, this is date morning. Yeah. And so, just having healthy habits.
Although like sometimes some mornings we're just like, oh, pull out the company credit card. This is a business meeting.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
Forget it. It's over.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it is. The thing is, like, it's all connected, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is a part. I know. I know exactly.
It's part of who we are. I mean, really, this business is it is part of who we are. I mean, we have poured our lives into it. And, and there's parts of it that so much of it we just love, and we love sharing with each other and sharing the fact that we can grow it together. And it's pretty cool that we could do that, and that we have complementary talents even in the process, or that God's given us to build this thing. And so it has been a really incredible journey.
Well, thank you so much. I am excited to share this one, and we'll put links to your business and all of that in the podcast so people can look that up. And I think you still have a few openings. So if they're in your area, give you guys a call.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, you guys, for your time.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you for having us. It was a
Wonderful
pleasure.
talking to you.
Yeah.
You have been listening to the Beacon Way podcast. Make sure to join us for new episodes every week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Beacon Way on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.